Oh, it's a pig! Welcome to the Lake Erie Kayak Anglers Podcast, the podcast designed to make you a better angler. I'm Chuck Earls from Lake Erie Kayak Fishing.com. Today we have Art Panfil joining us. Art is the founder and executive director of Cast It Forward. Art, how you doing today?
Doing great, Chuck. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me.
Sure, anytime.
So I want to take a deep dive into Cast It Forward, but why don't we tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. So,
I think I lost you. All right, I think you're back.
yeah, something happened there. I'll start again. So I've been an outdoorsman and a fisherman my whole adult life, and I've owned a boat my whole adult life. Lived in Northeast Ohio, born and raised in Garfield Heights, a suburb of Cleveland. Kind of like a lower middle class to a big family, and was drawn to the outdoors and the camping and fishing and the whole. It's people that aren't involved in it don't understand it, just like I don't understand how guys could go crazy about golf. But when you're hooked, you're hooked, and that's definitely me. And like I said, I've been an outdoorsman and a fisherman my whole entire life.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I'm not much of a golfer. Usually, I always try to surround myself with people that are bigger, faster, stronger than myself. That's how you learn. But it's hard to go golfing with people like that because I'm the guy that hits it two or three holes to the left or the right.
Yeah.
But the thing about golfing that I like is, the nature.
Right. Yeah.
The landscaping, the layout, the wildlife. That's really where it's at for me.
Sure.
If I do force myself to actually go golfing.
Right. On the other side of that coin, the thing that I can't stand is I can't see spending a Sunday afternoon on a course and having to wait 10 or 15 or 20 minutes to hit a ball every shot when I could be out on the open lake with nobody else around taking it all in. So the water is the therapy for sure.
Water is, and any kind of water, but more specifically Lake Erie. Lake Erie has just a magical energy to it. I don't know. When you're out there, everything just kind of disappears, and you get to really experience the magic.
Yeah, and you never know exactly what you're going to see or what you're going to experience. And especially if you're on the water before the sun comes up and that sun comes up on the water, it's possibility and hope, right? It's just something that energizes you. That again, if you don't get it or you haven't experienced it, you don't understand it. But everybody that's been out on the water and seen that knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's good for the soul. That's the best way I can put it. It's good for the soul.
It really is. You definitely don't come back off the water without a smile on your face.
That's right. Unless you're caught in 4 to 6s, and then maybe you're just glad to be back.
Yeah, that's for sure. Or like my neighbor, 3 days lost out on Lake Erie. I probably wouldn't be smiling much after that.
Is that right? You knew him, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, I suppose we've all had those types of stories, right? Maybe not to that extreme, but we've all had those types of stories.
Right. Have you heard that episode? I think it's episode 20.
I did not, but I'll listen to it. I'll watch it and listen to it now for sure.
Yeah, it's great. 28 years ago, 3 days out there. I've heard the story multiple times, and he finally gave me the opportunity to document it and share it.
Sure. Yeah.
But a lot of my preparation and a lot of the ways that I look at Lake Erie come from, that story and his experience.
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, you and the guys that kayak, and I've got a whole different level of respect for you guys, because I'm not sure that I would want to do that. And it's not because you're in a kayak. It's really because you're so low to the water, and there's so many people out on the water that don't know what they're doing, that I would imagine you probably have to keep your head on a swivel. I know that when I'm out, and I know when I'm in an area, like if I'm out of Avon, or if I'm out of Rocky River, or if I'm fishing Cleveland, I'm especially watching, because I know that there's kayaks out there, and you have to watch, because from a distance, you guys look like a log in the water until you're almost right on top, and you go like, oh man, I got to give this guy a little bit of a berth. So I've got a whole level of respect for you guys that, like I said, I'm not quite sure that I would do that.
Well, one of the things that I teach through my guided service is keeping your head on a swivel,
Right.
listening for the boats, identifying their position, and just taking an educated guess of what direction they're heading.
Right.
We can see you coming from miles away.
Right.
There's times, especially with 2-3 foot waves out there, you might look out there and you don't see a kayaker,
right,
because they're underneath that swell.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I push the bright high vis safety flags. Most importantly, 5-6 foot off the top of your kayak. That way, if you do get down there a little bit, it's going to give you something bright, some kind of contrast where the boats are going to see you. But at the end of the day, it's not about who has the right of way. It's our job as kayak anglers to stay out of the way. So
right, and to be safe. I mean, that's the number one rule. I mean, I'm a licensed captain, and it's a huge responsibility that you have as soon as somebody steps on your boat. The first and only rule really is the safety of everybody on board, and that also includes the people around you and in the water and other boats. So I wish more people would view it that way, or more people would take a course or take a captain's course or whatever. But yeah, you can never be too cautious out on that water, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So let's get into cast it forward.
Sure.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what cast it forward offers?
Sure. So can I go into a little bit about how the whole thing started, or are we going to get to that point? Or
yeah, we can. Let me rephrase that. All right, Art. So let's get into the organization. Why don't you start off with telling me what was the inspiration behind Cast It Forward?
Right. That's a great question, Chuck. Thanks for asking it. So I mentioned before that I've been a lifelong outdoorsman and a lifelong fisherman, and it's brought me nothing but joy, and I wanted to be able to share that with other people, and I have throughout my life. And we all have our stories, and we have highs and lows in our lives. The one constant for me was always having access to the water. And that was always important, and it got me through some tough times. So as a background, about a year and a half ago, I retired. I took an early retirement. It wasn't because I had to, it was just circumstances. It was the right move for me. But I knew that I was still young enough that, I just wasn't going to pull the chair up in the yard and fall asleep in the chair, So, but I also told myself that the next thing I do is something that I want to do and not something that I have to do. And I've been kicking around this idea for a while, but I just wasn't quite sure how to execute it. And I had actually even reached out to a handful of organizations where I could volunteer with them. And what I found was they didn't do exactly what I wanted to do, or if they did an event, it might be one time a year or twice a year. And then, if you're talking Lake Erie and you plan this big event, you get a big blow, then pretty much the whole thing is shot.
Right.
So I came to the conclusion that I wanted to put together what I had in my mind people would really enjoy and benefit from. And also right around that same time, my dad got sick. So it's funny because my dad didn't fish. He couldn't swim. He was afraid of the water. I mean, I didn't get any of my outdoor stuff from my father at all. I'm half Polish, half Greek. So I guess I got the water side from my Greek side, right? So, but my dad, we had a big family. We when coming up, we didn't have a lot, but he always found ways to give back. He coached baseball when we were kids. He was active in his church. He volunteered at the hospital throughout his whole life until the end. He was giving back. So when all this was kind of rolling around in my head, and what am I going to do, and how am I going to pull this off, and what do I want to do? I thought about my dad, and I thought about, what better way to put something together than to kind of honor how he lived his life. And that's how I finally came up with the idea of Cast It Forward. What do I really like to do? Well, that part's the easy part. It's being out on the water and it's fishing. But there's a bunch of people, through circumstance or whatever the case may be, that they can't experience what you and I have experienced and other people have experienced.
Right.
So that's how I came up with Cast It Forward. Basically, it's a play on Pay It Forward. We're casting it forward. And so, we offer fishing excursions to kids. And when we say kids, we try to leave it wide open. So we're working with groups that are underprivileged kids or sick kids or grieving kids because they've suffered loss in their life. We're working with veterans. It could be just a retired veteran, that just can't get out on the lake, or maybe he had a bunch of buddies because he's a little bit older. They're not around anymore, and he just can't get out on the lake anymore. Or we're working with a group. They're called Hearts of Patriots. They're actually based out of Lorain County, and they deal with vets with PTSD and TBI, traumatic brain injury. And then seniors, and we also say others, really, Chuck, the whole idea is we try our best not to say no to anybody. We want to make, if they're interested and they haven't been out on the lake, or they haven't been out on the lake in a long time, and even if they have some limitations as far as what they can and can't do, we try to make it happen. The first answer is not no. It's let's see what we can do to make it work. So this whole thing just kind of came together because I wanted to share the passion and the beauty and the wonder of the outdoors and, Lake Erie and all it has to offer. Walleye fishing is fantastic. So you take people out and there's a real good chance they're going to catch something, right? And give back, without getting too deep. I mean, we're all here for a finite period of time. And, the older you get, and, unfortunately, I'm older than I care to admit, but the older you get, the more you come to realize that. And it doesn't really become material things or, what have you, where have you been, or
right,
how much do you have, or any of that. It really becomes, being a good husband, being a good father, being a good friend. And what can you give back to other people that they can take with you?
Yep. You can't take anything with you, but you can leave a legacy and an impact in people that lives on for generations and generations.
That's right. And the beauty and the hope of it is you don't know what you do on a daily basis, how great of an impact that has on somebody. when I was younger, I was actually a pretty good baseball player, and I had a coach, and he was good, and he taught so much of just of the fundamentals of the game that probably when he was teaching it, he probably didn't even realize the impact that he was having on me. And I'm talking, 40 years ago is what that's how long ago it was. And then when I had kids and I coached, kids t-ball and softball and all that stuff, I gave that to those kids, so again, it's just, you don't know what the impact of somebody giving of themselves is going to have. And that's kind of the hope and the beauty of it for me, really, is that at some point, somebody down the road, and we're working with at-risk use, and you're hoping that you reach some of them. Unfortunately, you can't get through all of them, but you reach them to the point that they go, wow, there's something else out there. There's a bigger world out here than just my corner of the world, and maybe that opens up possibilities for other things. That's the hope and the beauty of it, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. I bet you can ask every true fisherman or fisherwoman, every true angler, if fishing's changed their life, and the answer will always be yes.
Yes. And
So
it's not yes in a bad way.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's yes in a good way.
Giving these people, these kids, these military veterans, these people in our community that really need that positive influence,
Right.
and giving them the opportunity to come out, catch some fish, create some relationships, and experience the magic. I think that's a true calling right there.
Yeah, it's something that I hope you can feel the passion when I talk about it, but it's something that there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing. None of us in the organization draw salary. I don't draw salary. It's not about the money. I could care less about it, to be honest. It's more about giving back of yourself, and I feel at some point over time, not monetarily, but it'll come back to me 10 times, 100 times more than what I've ever put into it.
Yeah, being able to see that impact in someone else, you can't put a price on that.
No, I'll tell you a real quick story, Chuck, because this is kind of just unfolding as we're talking. I reach out. I'm pretty active on social media as far as my fishing posts and stuff like that. Sportsman's Great. If you haven't checked out Sportsman's Great, I really try to put out really good, thorough information and try to put you almost like you're in the boat and go through the thought process of how we kind of figured out the day's fishing. People think you go out on Lake Erie and it's an automatic limit. That's not really true. I mean, if once you find the fish, it might be, but it's a big lake out there. And then our other social media post is Cast It Forward. But what I was leading up to say was that I put a lot of information out there, and I'm trying to reach out to people through social media to get them involved in Cast It Forward. And I got a request just the other day from a daughter. Her father's 97 years old. He's a veteran. And actually, for 97 years, when you say 97 years old, you go, holy mackerel, there's no way, right? But for 97, he's in pretty good shape. He's pretty spry. And the only issue for him is we can't take him out on a rough lake, right? We got to pick a day where it's going to be kind of flat. Well, as we're talking today on, May 9th, we're going to have a week's worth of good weather. So you can kind of tell that this week's going to be a good week. So we're working to take him out this week. He's going to bring his son along with him. He's going to need some help, but he's never been on Lake Erie, and it is his bucket list. His daughter told me the only thing on his bucket list that I know is that he wants to catch a walleye on Lake Erie. 97-year-old man, a veteran. So if that doesn't get you, if that doesn't grab you in the heart, nothing will. I got to tell you. So we're doing the best. Like I said before, we're doing the best. I had a long conversation with his son yesterday on Mother's Day. just about logistics and how can we get him in the boat and what does he need while we're in the boat and all that stuff. I'm looking for ways to say not yes, not ways to say no. But that's kind of the power of what we're trying to do, is to try to make a difference in this man's life. And hopefully we can do that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. I say this often, the best way to predict the future is to create it.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, no, it can't be done, you just say maybe.
Right.
A good friend and a longtime mentor taught me years back. I forget which book it came from, but he called it maybe logic. So instead of saying no, just say maybe.
That's right.
And then the next step will present itself. And before you know it, you have a 97-year-old man that, has a lifelong dream of catching a walleye on Lake Erie, and you're able to fulfill that. I mean,
That's right.
that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah. And just think of the impact, not only for him, but for his family, that they can do that for his father.
Right.
And Chuck, when we get a little jaded, we've been out fishing Erie a long time, and there's days you put a box full of 10-pounders in the boat, and we may shrug and take a couple of pictures and go, yeah, that's pretty good, but we get spoiled, right?
Right.
We also have to keep our perspective, because not every
there you go.
Gotcha. Yeah, not everybody experiences that. And we have to remember, me included, that maybe something that I do all the time, this is something that other people, this is a trip of a lifetime or a fish of a lifetime.
Right. And not just for this gentleman, but once you figure out the pieces of the puzzle, everybody that comes after him,
Right.
It just opens up, that new opportunity to touch somebody's life.
Right. I'll tell you another story. I'm sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
No, you're okay. I was just going to say, that's the true meaning of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you another story, a quick story, if you don't mind. There's again, through social media, a woman, I would say mid-30s. I don't really know how old she is. I didn't ask, and it's not important. But she served overseas, and she reached out, and she was interested in going out. She's from down south. She's born and raised in Louisiana, but she's relocated here in Northeast Ohio for whatever reason. Never been on Lake Erie, never caught a walleye. Is another one that's just on her bucket list, right? And I started telling her about the program, and you asked me before, and I never really answered. But so I'll get back to her. Name is Amanda. I'll get back to her. But so we provide all the gear. We provide a lunch, snacks, non-alcoholic beverages. We'll even provide a cooler with ice. So any fish that we catch, we put them in the cooler. We send them home with them. It's basically all I'm asking them is have soft-soled shoes on, show up on time, and have a valid fishing license, and we'll take care of the rest.
Do you also clean fish?
I'm sorry.
Do you also clean the fish?
That's something I don't. I mean, if I get into a situation like maybe with a 97-year-old man, I may clean some fish for him. But honestly, there's so much other stuff that's involved with it for me. Right. That's one of those things I have to kind of step back from. And unfortunately, around the Northeast Ohio area, I mean, you've got some more on Sandusky and Port Clinton, but around here, you don't get a lot of people that clean fish. So right. I can't send them to somebody. So unless there's extenuating circumstances, they have to clean them on their own, which hopefully that won't be a problem.
If, I'm probably not too far from wherever you'll be fishing. And, if I'm not busy that day, if I'm free and, circumstances call for it, just give me a shout. I'll come down,
Chuck, I appreciate
we'll clean them up and, send them out with some fillets.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Can't promise
So,
anything, but
yeah, no, it's always good to have, just a maybe. What you said, a maybe, right? So,
schedule fills up so fast. So,
yeah.
you know,
So, so,
just
so
give me a shout and I'll make it happen somehow.
that's awesome, man. I appreciate it. So, we've put this all inclusive program together, and I mentioned before, anybody that participates, we don't charge them a dime. It's all for free. So as I was talking to her, I could kind of sense a little bit of nervousness and trepidation in her voice. And so when I got done talking, and I said, well, I've talked a lot. Do you have any questions for me? And the first question she asked me was, well, how much is all this going to cost me? And I said, Amanda, it's not going to cost you anything. And she started crying she literally started crying on the phone. And so again, it's one of those situations where, you want to try to make a difference in people's lives and you get that kind of reaction. Then first of all, I mean, how can you not be moved by it? I'm moved by it just talking about it. But how can you not know that then what you're doing is you're on the right track and you're doing the right thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, that's
I got you speechless, huh, Chuck?
yeah, I'm kind of a deep individual as it is.
Yeah.
I
Same
was
here.
once a troubled youth. You know, I didn't always, and I still don't have everything figured out, but I'm
Right.
fortunate at this point in my life that I feel like I have a somewhat of an understanding and you know, a solid grasp on what the meaning of life is. And
Sure.
I don't know, man, sometimes it just catches you, you
Yeah,
know.
it does.
You think about
Well,
these people that don't have the opportunity or don't think they have the opportunity, and you're there making it happen for them. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it happens. It just matters that it happens.
right.
So I look at,
Yeah.
money is just a tool. So
Yeah.
your organization runs off of donations and stuff like that. Um, some people are more fortunate when it comes to finances than others. And,
Sure.
one of the best ways to, pay it forward is to give back. And that allows these other people that they think this is impossible. Well, now it gives them the opportunity of a lifetime. It can change their life. It can change the lives of whoever they encounter after that. The ripple effect of it is just tremendous.
Yeah. And that, like I said, I mean, that's the hope of it. That's the hope and the beauty of it. Chuck, you mentioned about being deep and stuff like that. And I can tell you that I got a few years on you, but it seems like we're on we kind of view life the same way. Um, once you figure out, who you are inside and who you're comfortable with being, then it all becomes a lot easier. Then you just are you don't have to worry about, what this one says about you or what this one's doing when you're just true to yourself. And this is what I tell my daughter all the time. Find out who you are and everything else in your life will fall into place. She's a young woman, the kid, this generation, everything's got to happen fast, right? But you didn't get to your point in your life, and I didn't get to this point in my life in a straight line. There was plenty of times when, I did things I wish I didn't do and said things I wish I hadn't said, and, and that whole thing, but it all is a building block to where you become. And, really, what we should all strive for, we should be better today than we were yesterday. And then if we do that, we're on the right track.
Absolutely. We will be back after the short break. Today's podcast brought to you by Lake Erie Kayak Fishing.com. Come along with me and experience one of the best freshwater fisheries in the world while chasing monsters kayak fishing Lake Erie. We now return to the show. So tell me about the boat that you're fishing out of.
Yeah, so I've got it's a 2021. I bought it new last year. Erie Marine Sales. Shout out to Brian and the group at Erie Marine Sales. Good bunch of guys out there.
Yeah, great guys.
Yeah, great guys. I saw Brian on Saturday. He actually was generous enough to make a donation to our cause. I got to say, so a lot of love and respect for Brian and his organization and his family. So, but prior to that, I had a 19-foot Starcraft Futura. It was more of your traditional walleye tournament boat, although I never fished walleyes. We fished and skied off and stuff like that. I had that boat for quite a long time, 15 years. Great boat. Problem is that getting a little older and you get a little more exposed to that weather out on the lake, and you don't want to kind of beat yourself up quite as much as you did before, right? So that's why I went towards the Hughescraft, because it's a 200 Pro V with a hard top. So basically what we can do is the Hughescraft layouts are great because there's a lot of open space in the back. They push everything a little bit farther forward, which is kind of weird when you're used to running a boat from the back as opposed to the front. But what that gives you a lot of room in the back of the boat. And with the hard top, we can completely enclose ourselves in rough weather or rainy weather or whatever the case may be. And like I said, I was kicking this idea around and cast it forward for a while, and part of that was having a boat that can accommodate 97-year-old veterans, right? So that boat for our purposes and my purposes and kind of where I'm at in my life is perfect, because it does everything we want it to do, but at the same time, if it's cold or if it's rough or if it's wet, we can duck in there and we could be protected. So it's a 20-footer with the extended transom. It's almost 23 feet. It's lots of fishing room, fully rigged for walleye fishing. We troll mostly. Every once in a while, early in the spring, we'll jig on the reefs, but for all intent and purposes, we troll. Completely rigged up and ready to go. Love it. Love the boat. Gotta love it.
Yeah, I've been on a handful of Hughescrafts. Very nice boats.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to come out with me anytime.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
I was thinking maybe, I don't know, one of these trips we'll just capture the magic for the family.
Sure.
Take some pictures, some videos, and put it on a Google Drive and just give it to them. Video lives on forever.
That's right. I should mention, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm relatively tech savvy, believe it or not, but we run GoPros on the boat. People that for insurance purposes, people that participate have to sign a waiver agreement. Unfortunately, there's just no way around it. I can't get insured and take people out without them having a waiver. But part of that is a waiver for they call it media. It used to be photo, but now it's media. So we'll record. So not only will we have it for ourselves, but we'll have pictures and video and stuff for anybody that's out there that wants it to share it. And we give that to them as well. So you can capture stills off of a live video feed. So you're holding a fish or netting a fish or whatever the case may be. Just another aspect that we like. When I was setting this up, I really tried to think of what would really make a great trip for somebody, and that was part of it. So we offer that too. So
nice. That's awesome. One of my favorite things personally to do is go back and relive some adventures. Some of them are on my channel. Some of them are just private because of location and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
It's cool just to pop it up, sit there, and just kind of relive that moment.
Well, it's funny because you forget that, I don't put the camera on all the time because it's just battery life. Just you'd have to have 20 batteries out there. But but when you're fishing your net and fishing, you're doing all that stuff, you forget it's on. So you definitely catch some authentic reactions, and me included. I mean, there's some times we put some fish in the boat and we all go crazy, and that's real,
So there's a way that you can set up your GoPro and just hook it up to like a 10,000 or 20,000 milliamp hour external battery and put it on looping mode. So it's recording all day long. The cool thing with looping mode is I think it's like 5, 10 or 20-minute intervals. So it'll just basically be recording. How do I describe this? Kind of like a sliding scale.
Okay.
So it's constantly recording. Boom, there's some action. You catch the fish, you go over, you hit the button, it saves that last 5, 10 or 20 minutes of footage.
Okay.
So
cool.
It catches the emotion, it catches the catch, and you're not sitting there going through 8 hours of
right. Yeah. Yeah, I have to look into that. That's good. That's good to know.
If you need help, just reach out to me.
Sure.
We could jump on a call or whatever.
Sure.
It's super easy to set up, and once you get used to it, it's like just habit. Go over, hit the button, save that, restart the camera, and you're good to go. Figure out the rest later.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, you never know. You got to shoot everything because you never know what you're going to catch.
Right. So generally, you're running from what, April to November?
Yeah, April to November. So we are incorporated and got our 501c3 designation September 9th of last year. My dad died September 7th. And on September 9th, we were incorporated and got our 501c3. So a lot of planning, a lot of kind of structure of the organization went on between September and the spring. And so this is really the first season that we're taking people out on the boat. But yeah, on a normal year, once we kind of get going, I mean, how really fishing is on Lake Erie. I mean, it's just something special. I mean, it's always something special, but I mean, if you're looking for a 2 trophy, that's one time of the year where you got a good chance. So from April to November, and, depending, again, never wanting to say no, it just really just depends on the participant. We'll fish all year round if the lake doesn't ice. But there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. So, but if there's somebody that's able to do that and we're into November or December and the conditions are right, yeah, we'll take them out. I mean, it just all depends on situation and circumstance, really.
Especially with the Hughes craft and having that pilot house, you throw a little buddy heater, in there, or one of the Hughes craft diesel heaters, and you stay pretty warm.
Yeah.
Then you start arguing, hey, it's your turn to get the fish. No, it's your turn.
Yeah.
It's your turn. Nobody wants to
I'll tell you a funny story. We were out last week, just me and a friend of mine, and it's like finally the weather's starting to warm up, but geez, it's been cold. And so we were locked up. I mean, we had the rods going, and we were inside the pilot house, and we had I've got an aft. It's not a hard back. It's a curtain. So we were completely closed in, and I hear this beeping, and I thought the motor's giving me some warning. It turns out my CO2 detector's going off. There was 2 of us, and because of just the space and being sealed in there, we're giving off too much CO2. So you get in there, even with body heat, it's warm. It is warm.
There's no time like the present to remind everybody to check their CO2 detection systems if you have it. If not, think about getting something. Even a battery operated carbon dioxide detector on the dash would work probably.
That's what I have. It was $20 at Walmart, and for $20, I think we just saw something posted on Facebook last week that another tragedy happened because of carbon monoxide in the hold.
It'll save your life.
It'll save your life, that's for sure. So yeah, absolutely.
So what are your goals for 2022?
That's another good question. Thanks for asking. So our goal as far as uh, trips go was 40 trips. To be able to get the word out and book 40 trips between, now and the end of the season, basically. We're not quite halfway there. I've got a couple that are working, like this gentleman that I mentioned, the older veteran. We're in the 15 range right now with some more in the works. But the goal for the organization is to provide 40 trips.
Are
And
you
then I'm
are
sorry, go
you
ahead.
planning on running trips during the Walleye Fall Brawl and the Walleye Slam?
Well, the walleye, yeah, so that's a good question. And the short answer was no, I wasn't planning on it. But again, I mean, I don't want somebody to come to me and say, I want to go out fishing. And I don't want to have to say to them, but yeah, you got to spend 40, 30, 40 or $50 to get in this tournament. So, that's a really good question. Probably the answer is I'll probably do it and hope that, that's not the day that I put a 15-pound fish in the boat. But
I th- I think that's probably the best answer is, on the days that you're registered for the tournament, you want to fish, like we can fish for the tournament. On the days that you're not registered, obviously it's not a legal tournament day,
right,
but I think it would be a really cool opportunity to get some of these people, some of the kids and veterans um, out there to fish the fall brawl and to compete, potentially win some prizes, and maybe get on a boat,
right, yeah. Yeah. Well, now that you mentioned, especially for kids, because the kids division is a heck of a lot easier to crack than the adult division.
Right.
So yeah, that's true. Yeah. So short answer is probably yes, but I got a few months to decide before like I said, I don't want to have to say no to people if they want to go out on the boat. That's just the
Right.
way I feel about it. So
The best way to find out is to reach out to Art and he'll make it happen.
there you go.
So speaking of that, I want to get into some of the programs that you work with
Sure.
and talk about how people can actually participate. As participants, also as volunteers, um, and and lastly, how can people help support your cause?
Great. Thank you so much. So some of the groups that I mentioned before when we were talking that when you take on an endeavor like this, there's two words to describe it, and that's persistence and elbow grease. And fortunately for me, I've got a reserve of both of those. Uh, People saying no or not returning phone calls and stuff like that doesn't deter me. So I don't take it personally. It's just the way that's just the way of the world. Some people are interested in helping, some aren't. That's just the way it is. But some of the groups that we're involved with, there's a nonprofit group. They're called the Youth Challenge. They're out of Lorain County, and their participants are adults and kids that have cerebral palsy. And actually, our first trip with them was scheduled for last Wednesday. I don't know if you remember what the weather was like last Wednesday, but it was rough and blowing. It was bad. So we had to reschedule, but I've got a couple more coming up here in the next couple weeks. And again, it's just one of those things that, there's going to be kids in wheelchairs and stuff like that. We're going to launch out of Miller Park in Avon. And, we're going to take them out on the water, lake permitting, weather permitting, and do a little fishing, maybe take them out on the boat, show them. That's one of those things we're going to just leave. Just going to kind of play it by ear. Maybe do a fishing demonstration, put a line in the water, let them see how it all works. There's another group. They're called Cornerstone of Hope. They're based in Independence, Ohio, and they service people It's families, kids, and adults who've suffered loss in their life. And, they've got full-time staff on board, to help people cope, basically, that have had loss. So when I was talking to them, and it took me a month to get through to them, by the way. When I was talking to them, they were like, well, this is a great program, but we're not quite sure how to fit you in. So as we were talking, I asked, well, do you do any kind of summer activities for the kids? And they said, yeah, we do a week-long summer day camp. I said, well, we can take a day and we're going to launch out of the Rocky River, and they're going to bring in a busload of kids. The last count was 80 kids.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're going to have a day's worth. With 80 kids, you realize that you can't take them out all for a day's worth of fishing. So we're going to break them up into groups. The river's kind of long before you get to the lake. I'm sure you've been down there. And, we'll go in the river. If the lake's nice, we'll go down the lake. We'll talk about boats. We'll talk about safety. We'll talk about fishing. Maybe we'll put a line in the water. And in the meantime, I'm working on getting each one of those kids a fishing rod and a reel to give to them to take home.
Nice.
So actually, getting the funding for that isn't as hard as actually with the supply chain issues that we're having.
Right.
It's finding like 80 Zepco 202 reels. But so that's another one of those things that we're doing for kids.
What's the date of that? Do you have a date for that?
July 14th, which is a Thursday.
Email me some information on that. If I'm able to squeeze it into my schedule, I mean, I can show up with, 3 or 4 fishing kayaks, and, maybe we can work that in as an option for these kids as well.
Sure.
If you're interested, I'd be willing to do something
definitely
like
interested.
that.
One of the things I was actually talking to my daughter about this yesterday because she was over for Mother's Day, but we're going to have, 6 or so kids out on the boat. But in the meantime, there's going to be 70 more on shore. They're going to be supervising everything. But, if I can pull this off with the fishing rods, and we can have somebody on shore showing them how to use the fishing rods. We're not going to have hooks in them. We'll have like a casting plug or something. So there may be some possibilities there as far as, get involved in, showing kids how to use a fishing rod. But, just trying to, make it a memorable experience, and they can go home and, they'll have a fishing rod. And again, it's just maybe one of those things that maybe it goes in the corner and gathers dust, or maybe it goes in, the kid sleeps with it underneath his bed, and it sparks something in them into a lifelong passion. You just don't know. And again, I've said it before, but that's the hope and the beauty of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So we're doing that. I mentioned Hearts of Patriots before, and that's for vets. I've been in contact with the Wounded Warrior Project. They're a pretty big organization. And I've got a meeting with them in a month or so to try to figure out again how I can kind of, that I'm out here, and how can I integrate what we do into kind of their participants. I just made contact with the group. They're called GYC, Geauga County Youth Center, and that's at risk youth kids also. And they do day trips, and they're always looking for activities, and just they're looking for positive experiences for these kids. And boating and fishing definitely falls into that category. So we're putting some programs together with them. So I mean, the ones that I mentioned are, we've already got them written in. There's some that I've got in the works that I shouldn't speak too much about, because then I don't know which direction they're going to go, and the devil's always is in the details. But we've got a lot of things in the fire, and we're hoping that as we start doing these trips and word gets out and people are more aware of us and that type of thing, it'll take on a life of its own. I mean, that's basically what I'm hoping for. I think I mentioned before that anybody that I've talked to has never said, geez, that's a bad idea, I don't know why you're doing that. They're like, well, that's a great idea, and we're not sure how we can fit it in, but there's always the maybe, right? There's always some possibility there.
Absolutely. Even some things don't work out this year, some things don't work out next year, but at some point in the future, it fits that slot, and I, man, there's just so many different groups of people that your organization reaches out to, and directly kind of connect with me personally. I can relate to a lot of these groups and organizations, so just keep me in kind of as an ace in your pocket. I
Sure.
have
Yeah.
4 fully rigged pedal driven kayaks, um, complete with PFDs and all the safety stuff.
Right.
So as long as I can work it into the schedule, man, I'd be more than happy to help.
Great. I appreciate that, Chuck. I'll put you, be careful what you ask for, because if I got your number, man, you might be in trouble.
Hey, if whatever happens, I mean, that's what's meant to be.
Right. Right.
I'm not doing it for the money either. Obviously, I'm not going to get rich as a fishing guide or any of that stuff, but um, we all have a larger purpose here, and
Right.
even if you change the lives of one kid, even
That's it.
just
It's all
one,
worth it.
it's worth it.
It's all worth it. If it's one, it's all worth it.
Right.
It's all worth it.
And you know what
I should,
happens? You start with the one, and then it explodes
right.
into,
One gets you,
infinity.
2 gets you, 4 gets you 8.
Yep.
I should mention too, as far as my qualifications and my experience, because especially when it comes to kids, if I'm a parent, I'm going, well, who the heck is taking my, who's this guy who wants to take my kid out on the boat? I mean, we don't take them out unsupervised, but so I've fished Lake Erie for 30 plus years. I'm a licensed Coast Guard. My merchant mariner credential. My designation is OUPV, operator of unexpected passenger vessel. So I'm a licensed captain, and anybody that's gone through that knows it's a heavy lift. I mean, there's a lot involved with that, and including you got to have hundreds of hours of time on the water, which obviously I have. I'm certified. I'm Red Cross certified in adult and pediatric CPR and first aid and AED. So it's important for me, for anybody that's thinking about that sees this and is thinking about maybe inquiring and coming out on the boat with us, that I'm qualified, and we've taken every precaution, and safety is always going to be the first priority, no matter what. We can always pick another day to go out on the lake, but we can't always pick another day to have a disaster. We don't want that.
Right.
So and then our website is a really good resource. It's castitforwardfishing.com, and there's a lot of good information on there. We've got some nice pictures. There's a 1 minute and 6 second long video that we put together that we're really proud of, and it really just kind of encapsulates who we are and my thoughts on it, and the impact that the outdoors has made on me and what we're trying to accomplish with our organization. And I would encourage anybody that's remotely interested or just even curious to go to our website, because we're super proud of it, and there's a lot of good information on there. There's a tab on there. It's a contact us tab. So if you're interested in participating, you fit our demographic, you click on that link, and email link will come up. That email will come directly to me. I answer them right away. I want to say within a day, but it's usually same day, because I just want to be responsive to people. If they think enough about our program that they're going to reach out and request, I want to respect them and get back to them. And that would be the first point of contact if you're interested, to reach out to me through the website and say you're interested. And then the step after that is we would we would send them a participant application, which basically is just general information, just kind of get to know who we are, who they are, and what their situation is. If they have any limitations, like I said, we don't discriminate against anybody. We try to say yes, not no. And then once I receive that back, I'll give them a call and we'll talk about it. And then if we can work something out, we will. And then if you're interested to volunteer, you can reach out to us the same way, just through the contact us on the website.
And I'll link all that, and I will link all that stuff in the description as well. So all you have to do is just scroll down, click on the link, and you'll be able to reach out to Art.
I appreciate that. And then the email address is castedforwardfishing@gmail.com. And one other thing I'll add, Chuck, is that because we're a nonprofit, we function on the generosity of others. And currently we have a raffle going on. We're offering 2 trips. We thought it would be more enticing if people were going to enter a raffle. They would have 2 chances to win as opposed to 1. And the cost of a ticket is inexpensive. It's $10. And it's a full day on the water with me on the Hughes craft. We provide all the gear. Again, we'll provide a lunch. We'll provide non-alcoholic beverages. We'll provide the cooler. Basically, if you enter and you win, we'll pick a date sometime between now and the end of the season, and we'll take you out on the lake and we'll go fishing. So if you're interested in something like that, excuse me, we can go out on the website. You can go on the website. There's a tab. It's enter to win a fishing trip. And you can just click through it. We accept PayPal on there and that sort of thing. And if you want to donate, there's a PayPal button on there for donations as well. We appreciate any support that we can get.
Yeah, support is the thing that keeps the ball rolling.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Art, it's been a true pleasure. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Chuck, I can't, I feel like I have a kindred spirit. I have a really weird feeling that I just found a kindred spirit. I don't know why that is, but it is. But I can't thank you enough. I mean, I appreciate you helping us get the word out, try to get this ball really rolling into a avalanche. But we're out here trying to do good work and make a difference. And, by you helping us, I mean, I can't thank you enough, man. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'll go ahead and leave everybody with this. One person can't change the world, but one person can positively influence enough people to transform our future and truly change the world for the better.
Amen.
I just want to say thank you, Art. Thank you for stepping up and, following your true purpose. I don't know what to say. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you, Chuck.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the show. Don't forget to leave us a review and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. We will see you on the next episode. And remember, for me, fishing is life.